Stop dropping thousands of your hard-earned dollars on heavy tactical chassis rigs just because some sponsored influencer at the Utah Hunting Expo told you it was the only way to guarantee a long-range hit. The vast majority of American hunters genuinely believe that bolting a bulky digital thermal scope onto a 10-pound plastic stock automatically turns them into a master of the high country. But the brutal reality is that all of that dead weight just anchors you to the valley floor when the real trophy elk is bedded down 3 steep ridges over. You might think you know exactly what a pure, lightweight mountain setup looks like after wandering the crowded vendor aisles at SHOT Show 2026. But until you have experienced the absolute perfect balance of a bespoke European break action paired exclusively with premium analog day glass, you are completely missing out on the true art of the stalk. So here are the top 7 single-shot mountain rifles that the mainstream tactical crowd refuses to acknowledge. Starting us off at number 7 is the Krieghoff Hubertus out of Germany. This is a heavy hitter in the single-shot world that most American hunters completely overlook. It tips the scales right around 6.8 pounds, which gives it enough mass to soak up the recoil when you are feeding it heavy 7x57R cartridges. For the mechanic insight, we need to look at the universal trigger system. Unlike a standard single stage, this trigger features a set mechanism that completely changes the game. You can pull it normally for a crisp 3-pound break, or you can physically push the trigger blade forward to activate the hair trigger mode. That drops the pull weight to mere ounces, eliminating human error when you are taking a precision shot across a windy canyon. Getting behind the Hubertus is a masterclass in traditional hunting. Squeezing that set trigger snaps like a dry pine twig under a heavy boot. Touching off that old-school metric round delivers a kick that shoves like a heavy oak door swinging shut. It is the perfect platform for a premium day use optic, so mount a Leupold VX6 on there and keep those electronic thermal scopes far away from this traditional masterpiece. But we have to talk about the deal breaker, and it comes down to the ergonomics. Krieghoff designed the pistol grip on the Hubertus to be incredibly thick and palm swelling if you have average or smaller hands. Wrapping your fingers around that grip feels like holding a 2x4 piece of lumber. You will struggle to get a comfortable trigger reach, which completely ruins the natural pointing ability of the rifle. It sets you back several thousand. But that grip size is the real issue. Stepping up the game at number 6 is the Merkel K5 out of Suhl, Germany. I know the fanboys will hate this minimalist setup, but sound off below if you actually trust a featherweight rig on a serious mountain hunt. This rifle is an absolute ghost in the woods, tipping the scales at a ridiculously light 5.1 pounds. It is built for the guy who wants maximum mobility without hauling a massive tactical log up a steep ridgeline. And it slings .270 Winchester downrange with brutal efficiency. Under the hood, we need to look at the removable tilted steel locking block, because the main receiver frame is machined from lightweight aircraft-grade aluminum. It cannot survive high pressure forces on its own. Merkel engineered a solid steel block that locks the barrel directly to the breech face, ensuring that all the explosive force is contained metal to metal. This completely isolates the aluminum frame from stress, giving you the structural rigidity of a heavy Magnum without the massive weight penalty. Running this action demands your full attention. The single-stage trigger breaks like thin ice under a heavy truck tire. Touching off that classic American cartridge delivers a recoil impulse that jabs like a heavyweight boxer right into your shoulder pocket. But we need to discuss the deal breaker, and it comes down to the aesthetic durability. The gorgeous Grade 5 Turkish walnut stock is incredibly soft and picks up deep scratches if you brush against a stiff pine branch. If you take this into the actual backcountry and push through dense brush or jagged rocks, that museum-quality wood is going to look like it went through a wood chipper after just one single season. It sets you back around 4,000. But that delicate finish is a massive liability. Climbing up the ladder to number 5, we have the Sabatti SKL20 out of Italy. This Italian rig is a solid performer, but wait until you see the untouchable masterpiece waiting for you at number 1. It blends modern CNC manufacturing with classic mountain heritage, tipping the scales at exactly 5.7 pounds, thanks to a receiver milled from a solid billet of 7075 T6 aluminum. It is a workhorse that eats .308 Winchester all day long. Looking at the cold hammer-forged barrel, we find the real mechanic insight with their proprietary multi-radial rifling, instead of traditional sharp-cut rifling that bites aggressively into the copper jacket. It uses alternating smooth radiuses to squeeze and seal the explosive gas tighter around the bullet. This specific geometry drastically boosts your muzzle velocity and completely eliminates copper fouling after a long-range session. Squeezing the trigger on this rig feels like snapping a crisp carrot. When you send that round downrange, the recoil pushes back like a firm shove in a crowded bar. Sabatti even designed an extended barrel block so the wood forearm never actually touches the steel, giving you a truly free-floated system that maintains absolute precision. But here is the truth. It suffers from a frustrating performance quirk because of that unique multi-radial rifling geometry. This barrel gets notoriously picky if you try to shoot solid copper monolithic bullets. If you are forced to run lead-free ammunition in your state, your groups will open up noticeably compared to standard lead core hunting rounds. You have to feed it the right diet, or your long-range accuracy goes completely out the window. Now we get serious at number 4 with the Blaser K95 out of Germany. This is a legendary piece of old-school engineering that weighs in at a ridiculously light 5.3 pounds. It slings 7mm Remington Magnum downrange with absolute precision, making it an absolute nightmare for high-altitude game. Under the hood, you have to understand its proprietary saddle mount system. Instead of bolting optics to the top of the receiver, the scope rings lock directly into grooves machined straight into the cold hammer-forged barrel right over the chamber. This means you can pop the barrel off, throw it in a backpack, and when you reassemble it on the mountain, your zero has not shifted a single fraction of an inch. Getting on the trigger of the K95 is an intense experience. The brake snaps like a brittle icicle under heavy combat boots. When you touch off that magnum round in a 5-pound gun, the recoil jumps like a startled buck. You have to actively drive the rifle forward to stay on target. Listen, here is the ugly truth regarding its overall value. The proprietary ecosystem will absolutely drain your wallet because you cannot use standard rings. You are forced to buy Blaser-specific saddle mounts that cost as much as a budget hunting rifle just to attach your day scope. The street price for the base mounts alone is around $500, completely inflating your initial investment before you even buy ammunition. Entering the elite tier at number 3, we have the Oswald Prinz number 1, hand-built in southern Germany. This rifle completely throws traditional break action rules out the window. It is engineered to sling heavy .338 Lapua Magnum downrange with absolute authority. For our mechanic insight, look at the massive falling block action. It is directly inspired by German First World War artillery field guns. When you hit the top lever, a solid steel block mechanically drops down inside the receiver to expose the breech. When it closes, 4 angled locking lugs seal it shut, giving it the immense structural integrity to handle extreme high-pressure rounds that would normally rip a standard hinge pin setup clean off its axis. Running this action builds instant confidence. Locking the breech feels exactly like slamming a heavy bank vault door. Squeezing the trigger snaps the sear like a frozen celery stalk. Touching off that massive cartridge delivers a recoil that shoves you like an angry linebacker, directing all that raw kinetic energy straight back into your shoulder so you can stay on the glass. Look, we have to talk about the deal breaker. To house that massive fallen steel block, the receiver has to be significantly wider and boxier than your typical sleek mountain rifle. It looks incredibly chunky in the hands, which completely ruins the elegant aesthetic lines that purists usually demand from this class of firearm. The damage to your wallet is heavy. But that bulky receiver profile is what will really annoy you on a long hunt. Closer to the crown at number 2, we have the Herbert Scheiring Titan Kipplaufstutzen out of Verlach, Austria. This builder took the classic alpine aesthetic and completely rewrote the rules using modern aerospace engineering. It is the lightest single-shot mountain rifle on the planet, weighing in at an unbelievable 4.1 pounds. It feeds on 6.5 Creedmoor, delivering surgical precision without the back-breaking weight. Digging into the hardware, we found the true mechanic insight in its titanium vertical block action. Instead of heavy traditional steel, they machined the entire breech housing and moving connector block out of aerospace-grade titanium. It utilizes a modified Jaeger block with Woodward snap action principles, meaning 2 solid metal cylinders lock firmly into the hollowed-out barrel lugs. This creates a completely rigid connection that maintains match-grade accuracy out to 1,000 yards while cutting the gun's overall weight in half. Shouldering the Titan is almost confusing because it feels virtually weightless in your hands. Squeezing the single-stage trigger crushes like a dry autumn leaf under a heavy boot. Sending a monolithic round-down range produces a recoil impulse that taps your shoulder like a polite handshake, completely defying the laws of physics for a rifle this light. Look, we have to address the deal breaker, and it is a frustrating ergonomic flaw. The manual hand-cocking device located on the top tang requires an extreme amount of upward thumb pressure to push forward into the live fire position. If you are freezing on the side of a blown-out ridge with thick winter gloves on, fighting that incredibly stiff safety mechanism becomes a serious struggle that could easily cost you the shot of a lifetime. The street price sits well over $20,000, but that rigid safety lever is a glaring oversight. Finally, taking the absolute crown at number 1 is the Johann Fanzoj Ischler short rifle out of Verlach, Austria. Built by a family that has been hammering steel for over 2 centuries, this is the ultimate manifestation of the European mountain tradition. It gives you the raw terminal performance of the Prinz at number 3, but with a level of traditional aesthetic perfection that puts the Scheiring at number 2 to shame. It slings 8x75 RS downrange with absolute authority. Diving into the hardware, we find the true mechanic insight in its special external hammer lock system. Instead of relying on a modern hidden striker, this rifle forces you to manually pull back an exposed steel hammer before taking the shot. This geometry serves as the ultimate manual safety for treacherous high-altitude stalks, ensuring the firing pin cannot physically strike the primer until you deliberately cock the weapon right before squeezing the trigger. Getting behind this masterpiece is a tactile overload. Pushing that set trigger cracks like a frozen birch branch. Touching off that heavy-rimmed cartridge delivers a recoil pulse that rolls through your chest like a deep ocean wave. Protecting all that steel is a full-length Stutzen stock hand carved from Circassian walnut, which shields the barrel from rocky impacts keeps the rifle dead quiet when brushing against thick timber. Looking at the sheer history built into this platform, it represents the absolute pinnacle of mountain culture. You are holding the exact same style of rifle that the emperors of the Habsburg monarchy carried into the Alps over a century ago. The damage to your bank account is massive because you are paying for generations of master gunsmithing, but it earns the absolute top spot on this mountain. Look, carrying a single-shot rifle into the backcountry is the ultimate test of a hunter. You cannot rely on a fast bolt or a heavy magazine to save you if you pull the shot. It strips away all the tactical crutches and forces you to become a true master of your environment. When you finally drop that mountain game with one perfectly placed round from a bespoke European masterpiece, the feeling is absolutely unmatched. If you want the raw truth without the fluff, lock it in right here